Hi, Virgo. Something rare is crystallizing in your energy field. The kind of configuration that appears once in a lifetime if you're lucky, twice if the universe is feeling particularly generous. This isn't standard fare. This isn't the usual cycle of challenge and growth most people navigate. This is anomaly, exception, the wild card drawn from a deck you didn't know contained wild cards. And the rarity isn't just about external events, though those are coming. It's about internal alignment so precise that it creates conditions for experiences most people only witness from distance, never participate in themselves. Let me describe what extraordinary looks like when it stops being theoretical. Most human lives follow predictable arcs: birth, growth, work, relationships, aging, death, variations on familiar themes. Individual details differ, but the basic structure stays consistent across billions of lives. But occasionally, very occasionally, someone's trajectory deviates so sharply from standard paths that their life becomes case study rather than just story. They don't break rules exactly, they discover rules nobody else knew existed. Find doors in walls everyone else accepted as solid. Walk through limitations that appeared absolute until someone proved otherwise. Some people call this luck, others call it destiny. Neither captures it accurately because both imply passivity, that extraordinary things happen to people rather than through people. What's actually happening is readiness meeting opportunity at the precise moment when collision creates explosion rather than cancellation. You've been preparing without knowing you were preparing. Every difficulty you survived built capacity most people never develop because they never needed it. Every challenge you navigated created skill sets that lie dormant until circumstances arrive that require exactly those tools. And those circumstances are arriving, not circumstantially, inevitably, like iron filings organizing around a magnet, like water finding the path of least resistance, like nature expressing pattern that looks random until you see it from sufficient distance. Let's pause here. This reflection invites you to consider: have you been developing abilities you haven't had occasion to use yet? Maybe you've been learning things that seemed tangential to your actual life, skills that interested you but had no obvious application, knowledge you accumulated because it fascinated you, not because it served immediate purpose. But nothing is wasted. Everything you've absorbed is about to become relevant in ways you couldn't have predicted when you were acquiring it. Or maybe you've been surviving things that seemed unnecessarily hard, challenges that broke you and rebuilt you stronger, but you couldn't understand why the breaking was necessary. Now you're about to understand. Because what's coming requires the strength that only comes from being shattered and choosing to reassemble, from dying in one form and being reborn in another, more capable one. Some people avoid the forge, they stay comfortable, stay safe, never develop the resilience that extreme heat creates in metal willing to be transformed. But you didn't avoid it. You walked through fire because you had no choice, or because something in you knew fire was required, even when it felt like punishment. And now you're tempered, hardened in ways that make you capable of handling pressure that would crush someone who's only known gentle conditions. This reflection invites you to consider: what if your hardest seasons were actually preparation for something requiring exactly that much strength? There's something specific about why this configuration is so rare. It requires multiple variables aligning simultaneously. like planets reaching specific positions relative to each other, like weather systems converging to create perfect conditions for phenomena that can't exist outside exact parameters. You can't force this, can't manufacture it through effort alone, can only position yourself in the general vicinity of where it might occur and then be ready when it does. Most people never get close to that vicinity. They live entire lives in safe zones where extraordinary never penetrates, where everything stays predictable and manageable and comfortable and small. But you've been moving consciously or unconsciously toward edges, toward frontiers, toward territories where normal rules apply differently or not at all. And at those edges, rare becomes possible, anomalies become available. Things that can't happen in the center become inevitable at the periphery. Some systems protect their centers fiercely, maintain stability through preventing deviation, keep everything predictable by eliminating variables that could create chaos. But edges are where evolution happens, where mutation occurs, where new patterns emerge that eventually migrate back to center and transform everything. You're at the edge, in the liminal space, in the zone where impossibilities become negotiable. And because you're there, because you've positioned yourself either deliberately or through being pushed by circumstances you didn't control, you have access to experiences that don't exist for people operating safely in center. This reflection invites you to consider, have you been feeling like you're operating outside normal boundaries lately? Let me describe what this rarity might actually manifest as. It could be synchronicity so precise it stops feeling coincidental and starts feeling orchestrated. Events aligning with such perfect timing that rational explanation strains to contain it. You think of someone and they contact you. You need something and it appears. You're facing a problem and the exact person who can solve it walks into your life as if summoned. Once or twice is coincidence, 10 times is pattern, and you're entering the pattern zone, where synchronicity becomes your operating system instead of occasional occurrence. Or it's acceleration. Things you thought would take years happening in weeks. Doors opening so fast you barely have time to walk through one before the next appears. Momentum that feels almost violent in its velocity. Some people wait decades for opportunities that arrive all at once for you in rapid succession, not because you're special, because you're ready and positioned and the timing is finally right. Or it's recognition arriving from unexpected sources. People you've never met knowing your name. Opportunities finding you instead of you having to hunt for them. Being seen for work you didn't know anyone was watching. This happens when you've been building in obscurity long enough that what you've built has reached critical mass. And critical mass creates its own gravity, pulls things toward it without active effort. Or it's internal, a shift in consciousness so complete that you see reality differently, not metaphorically, actually differently. Like developing new sensory capacity that allows you to perceive what was always there but you couldn't detect before. Some people call this awakening, enlightenment, gnosis. But those words carry baggage that obscures what's actually happening. You're just seeing more clearly than you could before. This reflection invites you to consider, have you been experiencing reality shifts you can't quite explain to others? There's something critical about what you need to do with rarity when it arrives. First, don't dismiss it. Don't rationalize it into normal. Don't minimize extraordinary experiences to make them fit comfortable frameworks. Let rare be rare. Let exceptional be exceptional. Honor what's happening by acknowledging its magnitude instead of shrinking it to manageable size. Second, don't publicize it prematurely. Some things need to gestate in private before being exposed to external energy. Some experiences lose power when spoken too soon. Keep sacred things sacred. Let them develop roots before you pull them into light where others' opinions and projections can interfere with natural unfolding. Third, document it. Write down what's happening, not for others, for yourself. So when you're through this period and back in more normal frequencies, you have evidence it wasn't dream or delusion. Because extraordinary becomes normal surprisingly fast, and you'll forget the magnitude unless you capture it while it's happening. Fourth, stay grounded. Rare experiences can untether people, make them feel special in ways that breed arrogance or disconnection. Make them feel chosen in ways that separate them from common humanity. But you're not separate, you're just experiencing different frequency temporarily, and that frequency doesn't make you better, just different in this moment. Some people lose themselves in spiritual bypassing when unusual things happen. They decide they're enlightened or evolved or beyond normal human concerns. That's ego wearing mystical clothing. True rarity humbles rather than inflates, makes you more connected to human experience, not less. You remain in complete control of how you engage with what's unfolding. You can honor it or dismiss it, document it or let it pass unmarked, stay grounded or let it inflate you. The power is yours. It always has been. You may notice reading this has activated recognition. Maybe you've been experiencing things you couldn't name until now. Maybe this language gives framework for what's been happening. Maybe you're realizing, yes, something unusual is definitely occurring. Whatever it is, honor it, take what resonates, softly release the rest, trust yourself. Before we close, I want to ask you something. Have you experienced anything recently that felt too unusual to share with others because you weren't sure they'd understand? Drop it in the comments if you're brave enough. And this, when extraordinary becomes your normal, how do you stay humble while also honoring the magnitude? Wow, I've never seen this in a reading. Because what's happening in your energy right now is statistical outlier, is the deviation from mean that creates new possibilities for everyone by proving what's possible. This isn't standard. This isn't typical. This is the rare configuration that people reference years later when they're trying to explain how impossible became actual. Not eventually, now, already in motion. Trust yourself with this. Trust that you can handle rare without losing yourself in it. Trust that extraordinary doesn't require you to abandon ordinary humanity. Trust that you are positioned for this precisely because you're capable of carrying it without breaking. See you in the next one. And listen. Rare experiences don't happen to special people. They happen to prepared people who end up in the right place at the right time with the right readiness. Stay grounded, stay humble, stay present. You're living what others will study. Take care.